3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carb Your Corner. My name is Chris.
And I'm Gloria.
And today we have two special guests on the show. And they are Noah Marshall.
Me.
And Lyndsey Smith.
Hello there.
This is
Soon
the voice
to be,
of Noah Marshall.
This is the voice, yeah. Not this one.
This is the voice of Noah Marshall.
Yes. Lyndsey soon to be Lyndsey Marshall.
Whoa.
Yes, sir.
They're about to be married, currently engaged, and we're going to be asking them 4 different questions today. And those questions are...
1. What's your love story? What have you found to be the most valuable aspect of your relationship? What has been the biggest hurdle in your engagement period? And what are you most excited for about being married in less than a month?
And if those questions sound interesting to you, make sure you stick around.
Those are not the questions you sent us. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so let's jump into it. First, let's just cover what everybody's drinking right now.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
a big
Alright.
deal on your podcast.
Yeah, it is a
It
pretty
is.
big deal.
Got the drinkities.
Unfortunately, Noah's brought nothing to the table.
Yeah, where
That's
is
a
the
lie.
drink?
I wasn't sure if we could advertise Chick-fil-A on...
Well, one day
Absolutely.
Chick-fil-A will hopefully sponsor
They
us.
will.
I think
Sponsor
they
us.
will.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the mark of a true Christian, so...
Yes.
Yeah,
We
yes.
are both drinking the lemonade.
Ooh, not
Nice.
sugar-free, right?
No,
Of course not.
mostly sugar.
Yeah, most
Well,
90% sugar. I
the
always
only
ask
way I
for
like it.
light ice. I always
Oh,
ask for light
A
ice.
smart move.
Do they charge you for light ice?
No. They're giving you less
That's
ice.
only
Why would they?
because Starbucks does that. They
No.
charge you like 50 cents if you get less ice now.
What?
That's
Because they're giving you more drink.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, what about
that
you,
makes
Glo?
sense.
What do
Checks
you-
out.
I have a ginger beer, non-alcoholic.
Oh, yeah. Always writing the line there.
You like? I thought you just cook with ginger beer. You drink ginger beer?
Yeah,
Oh.
it says non-alcoholic soft drink.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
if it
good
says
stuff.
soft drink, you're supposed to drink
It's
it.
like it's honestly, you might start your own like seltzers, how they've become so big. You can,
Oh.
ginger beers might catch on.
Whoa.
That'd be
yeah.
kinda-
That'd be
kinda cool.
pretty crazy.
I don't think I've ever had ginger beer.
And
Well, you
Chris
tried it
with the
before.
most healthy of them all.
Yeah, and I'm drinking the Amber edition, the strawberry apricot Red Bull drink. So Red Bull, you can, if you want to, email me or email my people.
Yeah.
You've been
And-
really into Red Bull. Didn't
Yeah,
you have it
I
on the
won't-
last
Every
one?
week.
I did, yeah. I had the
Yeah,
June
see,
berry
I follow.
one. Yeah.
I'm a good
June
follower.
berry.
Yeah, you guys are real listeners. You really are.
I try.
Yeah. So we're really excited for you guys. You guys are engaged, which is awesome.
How long have you been engaged for?
Since October 22nd. I don't know what.
7 months.
Sure. That sounds like math.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
8 months almost.
Yeah.
months.
It'll be, I think, about 8 months till we're married.
So
Sweet.
one of the
Yeah.
things that we want to do here is be able to kind of like capture people at different stages of like their relationships and stuff. And you guys are in like this unique stage where you're like a month away from
Yeah.
getting married.
Yeah, which you didn't have on your poll that one time. And I was super offended.
What was the
When you
point?
were like asking us to respond,
Oh,
you were
what
like, what
stage of
stage are you in? I
relationship?
was like, you missed engaged. I can't even participate. So it's
That's why
appropriate
it's-
that we're here now.
It's my fault that people don't
Yeah, this is
engage.
making up for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we're really stoked for you guys, and we want to start off just by kind of hearing like what your love story is. What's your love? How'd you guys fall in love? How long have you known each other? All the goods.
It's a magnificent love story.
Whoa.
It starts from when we were way, way, way young.
and that's true. That's not,
Yeah.
he's not being.
Yeah.
I'm not just lying. 'Cause, like, everybody's probably thinking I'm lying.
Whoa. So you guys are like kindergarten sweethearts, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. I like set my eyes on her in kindergarten. Was like, I want to. No,
I'm gonna marry that woman.
we were our families were in the same homeschool communities together because homeschoolers don't want their kids to be alone, so they do things like co-ops and they have communities, and
Yeah.
so our families interacted with each other.
So it's like we knew of each other.
Yeah.
We weren't really friends. I don't know if we ever spoke when we were like 9 or 5-ish.
Yeah,
But it was like we knew of each other. So it was
Did-
always like I knew the Marshalls. They also were all tall. They had 10 kids. They stood out. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like you knew the Marshalls, but as like the clump, not really. Like,
the clump.
I didn't know like Noah as a friend really. It was just like, oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
the Marshalls.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so we've actually known each other like
But-
basically all our lives.
not friends or even having conversations ever, and that was like probably so from young we knew about each other, and then it wasn't until 3-4 years ago that I came home from California and got acquainted with your friend group, and then even then it was like a year of just being friends. There was no interest. There's maybe interest on your end. I believe you were interested very early.
Who's this Marshall? He's back.
Yeah.
Look how tall he is.
Yeah. So yeah, he joined like our friend group that kind of started, that Glow was a part of.
Yeah.
That started kind of during COVID, and his sister Abby kind of brought Noah into the friend group. I think it was January. So he moved home from California, and we became pretty good friends, I would say, pretty quickly. And then we were friends from like January to August is when he officially asked me out. So for me, yes, there was interest.
And during that time, like before he asked you out, like
Yeah.
what was that like?
So I don't know exactly when. I'm a little hazy on this part, but I definitely was interested in him, but I kind of like feel it out, see if they're interested, and I kind of felt like, okay, he's not. It's just like I'm just like a friend. That's fine. But then it kind of became this like, for me, this like emotional barrier that had to come up of like, okay, I don't want to be so like, connected to this or get so emotionally attached to this and then be like so disappointed. So I was kind of trying to like keep my emotions in check that summer, which was I think the 2021 summer, and just kind of be like, okay, like we're friends, kind of keep him like at that, not let my like mind or emotions kind of run with it, because I was like, okay, he would have asked me out at this point. He would have showed some kind of interest, and he didn't. So that was like kind of my summer of like, okay, don't get attached to Noah because we were just friends.
Can I ask how were you able to like create that emotional boundary?
That's a great question. For me, I think it was just not letting myself, if you're kind of trying to feel it out, right? You might like go near them more or like talk to them more, but I just tried to keep it more of like how everybody else was, like just like my guy friends. And I was always pretty careful about like not trying to be like super flirty with guys, tried to keep it really like clear when I was friends with them. So I feel like I just tried to keep him in that category, even though it was like, there's interest in the back of my mind, but I'm not going to be like overly attached. Yeah. Because it just was like, he's not there right now. So
she like walked up to Noah. She was like, "What's up, bro? How's it going, man?" She's like, "Dab me up, dude." She's like, "How am I doing? Is he still my friend?"
Did I do a good job?
Well, she was friends with Abby, who is my sister, and so she was like around. So it was, and we were rock climbing and stuff. So it was very just like casual friends. And I think once she started to put up, a little bit after she started to put up the serious boundaries, when I actually started to get interested.
You're like, ooh, like wait a
minute. And then,
and we were really good friends at that point. I think. Yeah. We were around each other like a good amount. So we were like good friends.
We were never hanging out one-on-one.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were going to get food one-on-one because we were that good of friends.
Yeah.
One-on-one things started happening when I started being interested and wanted to make it very clear. But this is the classic line, the great moment that everybody loves, or at least I love, is when we went to a Spartan race with a group of people. And
was Gloria there?
Yeah,
Gloria was there. Yeah. And we were just, it was like rainy and whatnot, but she had just gotten hip surgery, so she couldn't run the race with us. So she was just there to take pictures and walk along with us. And I had my cross, and I was like, didn't want to lose it on the course. So I was like, Lyndsey, can you hold this for me? And I took off my cross, and when I was placing it on her, I was like looking through the cross necklace that I was like, oh, she's actually beautiful. Like, and that was like the first moment of kind of physical like attraction and like being like, oh, hold on a second, like this is a beautiful woman who like loves God, and then we drove home together. Everybody else volunteered.
It was awful.
It was miserable, rainy.
It was the worst 8 hours of volunteering in the rain of my life.
They volunteered to set up the Spartan to get a free ticket. I just paid for the race and was like, I'm getting out of here. And Lyndsey came with me, and so then that was like all of a sudden we were in a confined space for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I made a stop at a diner on the way home, And it was like pretty much as close to a date as, but it was just happenstance that got us there. So that was kind of like the awakening moment for me. And then it was pretty much pursuit from then on, even though she was still like, I don't know what to do about Noah, keep him at a arm's length. But
yeah, because then the next thing was we went to our friend's cabin in the Adirondacks. It was like a group trip.
Yeah.
And my mentality going to that weekend, I always say this because I specifically remember being like, okay, stiff arm Noah, like football stance, keep him away this weekend. Because I was like, I know how I'm feeling. And I was like, and I don't want to like, I'm just not going to let myself like, go over on the couch and try to like talk to him. Because I was like, that door's closed. And so the opposite of that happened that weekend. And it started because Noah's sister Abby like wingman for him basically, and like I was driving to the cabin, and Abby's like, oh Noah, why don't you sit in the front seat because your legs are so long? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Noah was like, yeah, that's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
My legs are long.
I was like, how am I going to get in this front seat? And I was like, oh, thanks, Ab.
And I was like, great, the last thing I need is to have like a 4-hour great conversation with Noah, because whatever.
Because I want to hate him.
She really did.
And so we had a great 4-hour conversation all the way up to the Adirondacks. And then that whole weekend, just like hung out.
We were I was like, I'm going to flirt with her the whole time.
Make it clear.
And then
make it clear.
we went, I was like, oh, it's like stars are out. Lynn's like, come on, like, let's go for a walk. And she like dragged our friend Sam Catchford. He was like, come in with us. This is not.
Anyone else wanna come?
She was literally like, anybody else like has to come with me. And then I was actually like, if we were not Christian, I would have kissed her under the moon that night. That would have been like the rom-com moment.
These stars remind me of your eyes.
It was the moment, like beautiful stars, like, and I was like, man, but
let's go back inside.
Sam was also
Sam was just like 10 feet away from us.
No, Sam left. Sam went back inside. And I was like, Sam, where are you going?
I was like, I was like, there's no way she would kiss me back. And then I think we've talked about this since. She's like, I would have slapped you.
At least she would have just slapped you.
And then he asked me out the next week.
Yeah.
Officially.
I said,
that's awesome.
I said, do you like cheesecake?
Do you like jazz?
Yeah.
Do you like cheesecake?
And then we went to Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he said, I would like to take you on a date.
I made sure because I was listening to The Porch, that young adult ministry in Texas.
Yeah.
And they were like, you have to be super clear about asking the person out. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure I say the word date, like make it very clear.
Yeah.
And I'm big
do
on
you
that,
like
so.
cheesecake date?
Yeah. I was like, do you like cheesecake date?
He like goes back to his notes, like, say date.
You look confused. Why do you look confused?
I said date.
Wait, so when was that official date?
September 1st.
Nice.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's so easy to remember.
So easy to
Yeah,
remember.
that is really nice.
So easy to remember. Who could forget?
And it was
Not
really
me.
also it's easy
Right.
to remember because it was Hurricane Ida. So we
Is
went
that when the
out like
malls
I
flooded?
remember
yes,
that.
and
People
we were
died
there.
in that hurricane.
Yeah, and we were in the Cheesecake Factory when it was pouring.
We were the only ones in the Cheesecake Factory.
Did you send me a picture? Wait, was that when your car flooded?
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that.
I
That's what
remember
was
that.
saying.
No way.
Yeah, my car had like literally 6 inches of water sloshing around in it the
I
entire
remember
way
that.
home. It was such a fun first date. It was great because she was just rocked with it and laughed, and I was like, "Oh, great! This is my wife."
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I feel like it's moments like that where you like see how the person's interacting with the situation, and you're like, "Yeah, I could marry this person."
Yeah, for sure. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then, like progressing in your story, you started dating, and then you ended up getting engaged. What was kind of like the moment when did you feel like he's the one? Because you don't ask, he asked. So like, when did you feel like, dang, like I really am hoping that he asks me
To marry him?
Yeah.
Okay. I knew, I want to say pretty early on that I was like pretty confident. I would say like 95 because like you said, he asks.
Yeah.
So, but it was like maybe 2 months after we started dating that I was driving in my car one night, and we talked about this the other day actually, of him. I just started thinking like, if Noah said I love you, I would say it back. And yeah, I'm pretty confident Noah's gonna be my husband. And at that point, it's like, I knew so little, like, not how to communicate, like, didn't know even, like, myself as much and him as much. But for some reason, I just felt like even, it wasn't like an audible voice from God, but I just had this impression, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Noah's it, which was cool.
That is really cool.
Because I had, like, never had that, obviously. So
Yeah.
that was just like, oh, whoa. I don't know what to do with that. I'm going to just keep driving. So,
Yeah.
And then, do you have a moment?
Yeah, my moment.
Noah's encapsulated by your story, by the way. He was looking at you. He was like, yeah.
My moment was, I guess it was maybe more slower because it's like, yeah, you're the guy, you have to ask.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't like switch and like in like a minute where you're just like, and now I'm ready to ask. It's like kind of a lot of thought and deliberation. So I think I told her early on in the relationship, I was like, I'm going to wait a long time to say the words I love you because I don't want to give you like false hope or like bring that word into the equation too early.
Yeah.
And then like a month later, I said I love you. And that
I
was
waited a really long time.
yeah, and that was kind of
Yeah.
that was kind of like what I like. That was like, oh shoot, I said it, and like it doesn't sound great, but
Dang.
but it was like
I
it
didn't
was
mean
like,
to say that.
No, it was like man, I thought I was gonna like wait longer and have more control, but it's like no, I do, and it's like then just looking at the facts and being like, yeah, no, I do love her, and I could spend the rest of my life with her, and that it was never like this like, oh, she's the one, which I think we're adamantly against the one, you know, mentality. Yeah. So it was like, oh no, like looking at all the facts and how I feel about her and how she, you know, operates and navigates through society and life is like everything I want. And so it's like, okay, I think I'm gonna marry this girl, and it's like, whoa, that's a big thing to think about, and especially because like your whole life up until that point, you're just like just dating, you know, like with like eventually I'll get married, but
anyways, I think I got an email.
that's good to know because our wedding coordinator kept having that sound earlier today on the phone call, and I was like, oh, I've never heard that chime before, and now I've heard it twice in one day, and now I know it's an email. Gotcha. Good to know.
So here's a question from a guy to the guy for the guys. How did you know that, like, how did you know what you were looking for in a wife? This is a curveball question because I didn't ask you this beforehand.
Sure. Sure. I always knew I wanted to get married, and then becoming Christian and started listening to sermons, and you'd hear like slight nuggets on Sunday sermons of like kind of how you're supposed to go about it, and you're supposed to be super diligent. And I was like, okay, I need to hear more on this, and just started consuming all the information I could, whether it was books on dating or podcasts like The Porch or any young adults. We were listening to so much, just drenching myself in knowledge. And so the question was,
how did you know? How were you able to discern what you wanted in a wife?
And so it was really just listening to married people who had been through it, who were in positions to speak on it, who were quote unquote experts, and just kind of saturating myself in all that material. And then talking with my closer knit people who I trusted to be like, okay, what is true and what's not true? Yeah. And they kind of laid out like what you should be looking for as a man of God, like what a godly woman is and what you should be looking for. And I kind of just followed that guideline, and that's kind of how I arrived at like the criteria. And it wasn't like, here's my list, okay, and then looked at Lyndsey and like checked. It was like, interested in Lyndsey, okay, I have feelings, I want to date her, okay, we're dating. And it was like, all right, yeah, she's like, then I started to think about the list. And so it wasn't like, which maybe is not the best way to go about it, but it wasn't. I mean,
you are like, it's good. I think it's important to know what you want in like a wife. Otherwise you're like trying to have someone fulfill things or meet expectations that you don't even know how to communicate. And then at that point it just becomes like a toxic relationship because the person's like, I don't know what you want from me, and the other person's like, I don't know either. So then you end up like in this cycle. Well, what about you, Lyndsey? How did you know like what you were looking for?
Let me ask it.
Oh, okay.
A woman to a woman.
Woman to woman to women.
For the women.
Yes, for the woman. Women.
The singular
Shout out to the women.
Shout out to the woman. How did you know what you wanted in a husband?
Good question.
Thanks.
I guess
thought
I
of it
should have been like
myself.
preparing my answer, like thinking you were going to ask me next, but I was just listening.
That's
I was like,
okay.
Yeah, no, that's
all
okay.
right. You can take time.
No, but I think similar. I feel like I've heard so much, like going to church growing up, going to a Christian high school, Christian college, like they love talking about marriage.
Yeah.
So I feel like I had kind of I had an idea of, what I thought a relationship should look like. Even him, like the simple things of like being clear, saying like we're going on a date. I was always like big on those things. And I feel like, I knew the values that I needed in somebody. One thing that I always thought like I did need was somebody who was pretty like stable and who would kind of like bring me like back down at times because I can be like all over the place. And so those were like a couple things that like I knew I wanted, but I feel like with Noah, it was like, checking off all those boxes, like the Christian, like same values, that's all important. But then it was like, also we just connected in like all little aspects of like what we like to do, what we kind of like our goals are in life and things like that. So I feel like a lot of people you might match up on values with, which is like the most important thing. But then there's just this side of like, okay, do you like want to go the same direction? And all of a sudden it was like a lot of things were like clicking with me and Noah. That in like past relationships, it was like, I'm just not excited. Like, I don't really imagine this going to marriage. I always had that in mind. I was always like, yes, I'm dating for marriage.
Yeah.
But then it just was like with Noah, it was like, oh no, like I'm so excited about like what this could be. And this just seems like so exciting and fun of like what God can do and like how he'll use our strengths. So, and then I would say too, for both of us, like even once we felt like, oh, this is it, we didn't just like make that decision ourselves. Like we like walked with a mentor through dating, now through engagement, and like plan to walk through marriage.
Yeah.
And we asked them like several times, and we've asked like a couple people like, do you think this looks like makes sense? Or like you've heard of the struggles, you've heard the good things, the bad things. Like, do you think we're a good match? And like we never were hit with things that even I was like, oh, I don't know, is this okay? They were always like, no, that's like not a reason to not get married. And they were always like really encouraging. So it wasn't only like, oh, we feel this way. It's like other people like affirmed too, which I feel like is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. To the women.
Definitely. To the woman.
Shout out to the women.
Yeah, I feel like the common denominator between the two of you is just like how you've surrounded yourself with like mentors and with counsel, and just like soaked yourself in biblical wisdom of like God honoring character of like the opposite sex. So it's like, what does a God honoring woman look like? What does a God honoring man look like? And that's the kind of person that I know I should be with. That's the kind of person I know I should be looking for. And it's totally like, again, like what you're saying, just it's not about finding the one. It's about finding one with godly character, and then making the choice to say like, oh, I'm going to love and commit myself to this person.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and especially when, and the world tells you to like, worry about 1,000,001 other things that like really aren't important. And it's like, but those do weigh on you like pretty heavy throughout the process. And so it's like actively choosing to be like, no, I'm focusing on these things because I believe like what God says, and I'm choosing not to focus on what the world says to focus on.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like surprised me about, I guess, our process and that I even went through it like that. That was never on the docket. When I was in high school or college, like, oh yeah, that's how I'm gonna like go about finding a wife. It was like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
Yeah, cool to see God work in that way.
Totally. That's awesome. So, Glow, do you want to, now that we're like almost a half hour into our podcast,
I know.
do you want to ask question number 2?
Sure. Question number 2 is, what have you found to be the most valuable aspect of your relationship?
Ooh. Most valuable
go?
aspect.
Yeah, you can go first.
I definitely didn't think about these like my whole last 2 days on my trip to work. For me, I think the most valuable aspect of our relationship that I've grown and that's helped me is just how our relationship, and it's still progressing, but just learning to be so like honest and so vulnerable to the point where like we've really been pushed through like different circumstances. Like we have to be so honest about like different fears and different insecurities to the point where I never thought I would like be before. And that's obviously helped our relationship of just, you know, confessing things to Noah that I've literally like never even been able to like put to words because they've just been so in my head. And that's just helped me in like all relationships like across the board, because I've just learned to be so much more like real. And I've always struggled with the sense of kind of holding up this like picture or identity, and learning to be just much more vulnerable to friends, to just like peers, to even kids like that are under me for like my coaching and whatnot. It's so valuable, and like people need you to be real. And I always felt like, oh yeah, I'm really honest, I'm really vulnerable. But being in our relationship has like pushed that. And because you like have to be so honest, or it's just not going to work, because you're like, why are you upset? And it's like, I can barely even explain, but we've like had to like dig into like different fears and insecurities. And so that I feel like is helpful for me, as well as like hopefully will be helpful in like whatever the Lord leads us into, because I'm able to have conversations with people that I like never thought I'd be, and I'm like comfortable with them sometimes, that I'm like, wow, I never could have even like admit this to like myself barely, and now I'm admitting it to Noah, and then it allowed me like to admit it to our mentor couple, and then it like allowed me to admit it to my friends, and then hopefully like teach others like down the line. And so to me, like that's been the biggest growth in our relationship, is like starting like, yeah, we're like good at communicating and we're really honest, and then you learn like, no, we're not. Like, wow, there's like such like another layer. And that's like a big thing we talk about, is like, okay, but like, what's the real reason? What's the reason behind like that insecurity or something? And like kind of digging to the root of it. And so we've just like really pushed each other in that. And then I think that just pushes us, like it pushes other people too. So hopefully, you know, that's what your relationship is. It grows you, but then grows other people. So that's kind of what sticks out in my mind.
So it'd be like,
does that make sense?
Kind of summarized, I think, in some way, to say the most valuable aspect of your relationship that you found is the permission to be vulnerable. Almost like the permission and encouragement to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's I think that's huge. And it does expose like so many different parts of you. Like I definitely feel like I would have thought of myself as a good communicator, but there's been so many times where I looked at Gloria and I'm just like, I just cannot communicate right now. Like I'm trying to tell you how I feel, or I'm trying to tell you like what's going on, and for some reason like I just can't bring like the right words, you know. But it's cool for us to still to try and like work through that, you know. And then it does push you to a place of vulnerability that maybe you haven't felt in like a long time, because I feel like vulnerability is one of those things where you can say, oh yeah, like look at me, like I'm sharing these things about, you know, my past or like my family or something, and you've gotten so used to sharing those things, and so the outside thinks like, wow, that's so vulnerable, like thank you for sharing that, but you're like, yeah, whatever, I mean, I've shared it before. And then you're like gonna get married, and you're like going to the other person and you're telling them everything about you and like everything that you've been through, and suddenly you're like, is this person going to like leave me now? Like, or are they going to look at me like differently? Or, you know, like all of those different like aspects of your relationship really put you in a vulnerable place. But then it's like beautiful when the person still looks at you and they say like, hey, I love you, you know, and like, I still want to marry you. And I know you now, like I really know you. And that's what's so cool. So,
And the fact that like you don't have time to be to hide, like when you're going through, so you'll go through something and then you'll kind of process it and work it out, and 6 months later you'll go and tell all your friends and be super vulnerable.
Yeah.
But when somebody's right alongside you through the stuff, like through the garbage, through like you becoming, you know, being your worst self, and you can't hide, and you just like, and they look at you and be like, why
Yeah.
are you doing that? Or like, why do you act that way? And you don't have a choice but to be vulnerable. Like you yourself haven't even processed it. So like you can't even put up a wall because they're like seeing it happen live.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll show you if the relationship's real right there.
Yeah.
You know, if the other person can look at you and be like, I love you. Like, let's work through this. And you both healthily work through it together.
Yeah. Mike and Alexandra on like the last podcast that they were on, they said one thing that I told Glow. I was like, man, I want to bring that home. It was just like so good. They were saying how, you know, Mike was dealing with something, and Alexandra's like first question when he comes to her and is vulnerable, she's always like, how can I support you in that? You know?
Yeah.
And like, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I just love that, you know, that what you receive when you're vulnerable is like is security, encouragement, and comfort, you know? But it's also like a challenge.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're like dealing with this thing. How can I support you to like overcome this?
Yeah.
It's not just like, how can I make you feel good?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so.
And just even like initiate, like that's something that Noah's very good at, is like initiating those conversations. Like he's not afraid to have conversations that I would be like, never have. I'm
Yeah.
like, I should say that, but I'm not going to because it's so uncomfortable. Or like I've had to learn to say things that I'm like, this might be like offensive. Like, I don't want to say this. And he's like, you don't have to be afraid of like what you might say that could like hurt me. And like, we obviously say it lovingly and gently, but so just like, he's so good at like initiating that, which like also stood out because it's like, I need somebody who is going to push me in that because I don't like awkward conversations. But
Yeah. Glow and I have this thing, we've been doing it since we were dating, where I say like, you try like say what it is that you want to say, like just try your best. And if it doesn't come out the way that you want to say it, then like I'll just pretend I never heard it. You can try again, because sometimes it just takes that first part, like maybe this is what I want to say, and then you say, you're like, oh my gosh, that is not what
wait, retract that. Let me reword that.
Backspace, you know. So like, it's to be able to have that, I think is really cool.
and what do
too.
you, Noah says you need like what, a second of courage,
10 seconds
like
of
10
courage.
seconds of courage to say that thing you want to say, but
Yeah.
you're so scared to.
I pulled
He's
this
like,
from.
you only need 10 seconds.
I pulled this from the movie We Bought a Zoo with Matt Damon, and
No way.
and he talks about how he met his wife, and he's like, I saw her in the coffee shop window, and he's like, okay, I just need 10 seconds of insane, like absolutely just stupid courage, just 10 seconds to start, and then the rest will take care of itself. And I've like lived my life by that principle of like, I don't want to say this. I don't want to have this conversation. I don't want to like, or this interview or whatever difficult thing. And you're just like, just 10 seconds of just absolute courage.
Yeah.
And here I was thinking, no, I had this original quote.
Wait, is that the first time you heard that?
Yeah.
Maybe once. I don't know. I just like in my head, I was like, yeah, this was, wow, my fiance, he's got such a good quote.
Matt Damon. It's
That's
a great movie, but anyway.
Yeah, the person who wrote the script, dude, probably was.
That's what we should give the credit to
Yeah,
the person who wrote
Yeah,
the
because
script.
come on, they're on a
listening,
strike
so
right now.
Yeah,
shout
they're-
out
they're
to you
upset.
guys.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's the true for those tough conversations. And yeah, I think that's a good part of our relationship. I agree with everything you just said. And yeah, she was more, I guess at the beginning was like, oh, that's like, it's something I don't want to talk about. Let's just like be joyful. And she's really good at being joyful through tough things and just being like, no, like that doesn't need to affect me. And I'm more like, what the heck is that over there?
Yeah,
like let's
really
deep dive
abrupt.
into that.
Yeah, that
let's,
was like-
let's
Like-
find the bottom of that emotion.
The first time I remember this, like standing out, we were in the rock gym. We're just like
Yeah.
rock climbing, and I was like, "So what do you think of birth control?" And I was like, "What? What are you doing?"
That was like only a few months into our relationship. I was like, why am I bringing up birth control? I was curious, bro.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, you just,
I was like, "I don't know how to talk
I mean,
about this here."
We talked
She
about
did.
that in dating too.
Yeah.
because it was in the book we were reading.
Yeah,
so
it's good to talk
Yeah.
about, but like in
Yeah.
the rock gym just threw me off. Like I was
Yeah,
like maybe
yeah.
like in the car later.
You're like
Yeah.
looking at the wall, like
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to climb
I'm like, your
it.
right hand goes there, and what about birth control?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So you'd say like just her joy and
Yeah, what was the question was the most valuable thing in our relationship?
most valuable aspect of your relationship.
Yeah, if it's coming like from her, it's just like, yeah, her ability to be joyful and I can sit in negative emotions and be fine. Like I'm fine to lay on a carpet and listen to sad
I think
music.
that's a tall person thing.
Mm,
Right?
interesting.
I've noticed a lot of tall
you don't
people
think
that
short
just
people are sad?
no. The taller you are, the sadder you are.
The taller you are, the sadder you
No,
are.
That
I
makes
was-
sense.
I was gonna say like I would notice a lot of tall people just lay on the floor.
This is straighten out our spines.
Yeah,
They
I
don't
think
fit
so.
anywhere else.
That's
Oh,
why
not
I always
sadness,
sleep on
laying on the
Lindsay's
floor.
floor.
Yeah, laying on the floor.
I love laying on carpets.
I love laying on the floor too.
Yeah,
it's so
phenomenal.
funny. My little sister has
But like
a
carpets, not wood floors. I'm
No,
not on
yeah,
wood
yeah, yeah,
floors.
not wood
No,
floors.
no.
So sorry, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, my little sister has a friend who's also like tall, and he was over at my mom's house for like a week, and he was just laying on the floor all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
And my mom was like, "You remind me of my son," because he always laid on the floor.
Yeah, it's
Man.
phenomenal.
It's just that
Highly recommend. But yeah, so I'm fine to sit in negative emotions and kind of like just feel it to a point where like I don't need to let it affect me that much. And she's like,
Get out as quick as
Let's
possible.
go-
Get out of these feelings.
yeah, she's like, let's go, like let's be happy, let's find the joy and have fun and do fun things. And so it's a cool yin and yang situation.
Whoa, we're Christians out here, dude. What
Yeah.
the heck?
Chill.
I'm just kidding.
It's a cool Cain and Abel situation.
Even worse.
Jacob and Esau.
Think of worse analogies.
Shoot.
No, I'm kidding. I totally agree with you there. It was so funny. This is kind of the same, but not really the same. Last night when you and I went to Outback,
Uh-huh.
and I was looking at my plate, and I was like, just gave me like an appetizer plate with like my entree, right? And I was just like, what the heck is this? Like, look at this plate. Like, it's just like so, like, I feel like I should have like a nice black plate or something like that, something kind of fancy. And Gloria's like, are you really gonna like analyze that plate that hard right now? It's just like food. Just like deal with
I was
it.
like, we're at Outback.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I guess I thought Outback was a nicer restaurant than it is. But it's just funny that way. You know, like I think Glow takes me out of that headspace
That's
a lot
good.
too. But you both will do that for each other. You know,
Exactly,
the more and more. And we even talked about that, I think, at one point too. We're just like, for the most part for a while, we're like kind of handing off the baton. Like one of us would be down and the other one would lift up. But then there was a time when we were both down and then trying to figure out like, oh, whoa, what do we do now? Like we
Yeah.
haven't been in this space before. So, but it's cool because it's just like every evolving thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Question number 3.
All right.
Are you ready?
Oh,
How are we
ready.
doing on time? We okay?
I think
We
we're
talk
Don't
a
worry
lot,
about it.
it's
Don't worry.
fine.
No, it's fine. I think we're having a good time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're having a good time, I think people who are listening are having a good time.
I think so.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out to Steven.
Shout out to Steven. Steven,
my
if you're having a
grandma.
good time. And Danielle.
That's my brother.
Danielle's an avid listener too.
And Danielle.
Yeah. All right. What has been the biggest hurdle in your engagement period?
Me.
Is that what you guys talked about?
We didn't say that. We didn't say that meanly, but I feel like it was good for a laugh here, and I was correct. No, it was my. I'm gonna take the lead on this one. It was my fear. It was my lack of confidence. And that was hard. It was like, it's weird because you'd expect you propose and get engaged and start planning the wedding, and you think, okay, yeah, you know, it's gonna be tough. I'm not an idiot, like, but we're getting married and it's gonna be like a great time. And that's where like some of the heaviest fears and insecurities about just marriage in general started to set in, and it's like the grass is greener complex. I really struggle with that. And that's like something I have to remind myself almost like daily, is like the grass is greener where you water it. And so I have to remind myself of that. But that's been our biggest hurdle, was like, I feel like maybe 3 months time period of like me just like doubting. And it's like, you're the one who asked.
Yeah.
So that sucked. That was
Yeah.
it was really difficult and hard. And surrounding ourselves with mentors, like we said at the beginning, and community, and looking for the right person, going through that list in your head of like what Christians or what your trusted counselors say is like a good pick of a spouse is like, that was like kind of a test of it all. And it was like, and we had to work through it and really set a foundation of communication and vulnerability and getting really emotional. And it was hard.
What was that like, Lyndsey, being on the other end of the fear and insecurity?
For me, it was definitely like hurtful, and I had to learn to be okay to like say that. And through the whole process, like looking back in the beginning, I just like did not understand. I was like, it felt like it was more at me. I had to come to kind of learn that it wasn't like, a lot of his fears weren't about me as an individual. They were just like about marriage and things that he feared in like that could happen to us, and like, just growing up, kind of what his view on marriage was. And so I had to learn to be really patient and understanding and like listening. And so when I think about like our conversations, I don't know, a couple like 6 months ago when this started, of like me just like bawling, like being angry and like not understanding, and then to a more recent date where some of these thoughts, which we like to identify as like more intrusive thoughts for him, of learning to be like, okay, this is not about me. This is like he's being like attacked in this way, and learning to address the fears and like learning ways to combat them was really important, rather than just trying to like get rid of them or like push them under the rug. But I mean, yeah, it was like horrible to hear that, because you're just like he said, like, you asked me to marry you. Why, like, are you having these fears? And like, what did I do? Did I change? So it's like, you can just like, I could have then like gone down like rabbit holes. And so I had to learn so that, that's what he was dealing with. But then I'm having to deal with like my own insecurities at that point of like not letting my fears then also affect our relationship, which in the beginning they definitely were. And having to even learn like, okay, I don't have to like defend myself, because again, this isn't about me. It's like, how can we like address these fears? How can we work through them together? So yeah, in the beginning, I mean, it was never fun, but in the beginning I just like didn't understand it. And so it was really important for us to like be meeting with our mentor. We met with like a counselor, just learning how to like really communicate to like with each other, and learning how to like actually like what's a healthy way to think about these, rather than just like him spiraling, me spiraling, and then it's like chaos, which in the beginning it was kind of like chaos. And like, again, we thought we were good communicators, and I think it was more just like we're both talkers, so we're good at talking. But then learning to like be really honest, like to the point where, like, again, like I used to say, or I said right before, like I didn't want to even hurt him. Even so, like for me to be like, I'm really hurt by that, was really hard for me to even say. Yeah. So it was a growing process for him and for me. It was not easy, but now like we're so much more confident when those things do happen, because I don't think you can like count on fears never popping up. Like something might trigger that or something else in one of us. And now we're just better at communicating that and like loving each other through that. So that's like a really valuable lesson, which I think makes us both more confident. Like we feel like we've been pretty low, like, and we've still like worked through it and came out of it, and to me a lot stronger. So even though it sucked, it's like a good thing and a beautiful thing that hopefully we can take in to marriage. So yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you guys for both being like uber vulnerable, because that is like really vulnerable to kind of share that. And no, I feel like what you experienced in in part, just in terms of like the fear and the insecurity that comes from like that engagement period, differs for like every guy. You know, like I didn't have the same insecurities that Noah had, but I did have insecurities and I did have fear. You know, like especially coming from like a family that had like divorce in the background and everything like that, and my mom being like cheated on and everything like that when I was younger, just like these super rational association, like improper association kind of fears and insecurities that I had to like deal with and talk through. I remember talking with like my brother-in-law just about, even before I asked Gloria to like marry me, I was just like, I don't know, like what if she doesn't like this ring, and like these things that like you never thought you'd be like insecure about, like suddenly start to kind of like brew up. And then during the engagement period, and tell me if this is true for you guys too, just the stress that can come from that season of like wedding planning and your family's expectations and communications coming together can start to create like a weight on your relationship that you didn't have to deal with before, you know? So I don't know if that was kind of the, you know, similar experience. And Glo, I don't know if you can even speak into that a little bit too from your experience, but that was kind of a little bit for me. You know, I just think it's important for people to know when you get engaged, it's super exciting, but also like be ready to hunker down, you know, and be ready to like work through some stuff that you weren't expecting to like have to work through. Because what I think is an awesome testimony is the fact that, Lyndsey, you were able to like stand firm and say like, hey, like, let's talk through this, you know? And no, I think it was huge for you to be able to say, hey, I'm dealing with a lot of this stuff and I don't know. I just don't know, you know? And like, because a lot of people, I think, would probably just be like, hey, I'm out. I can't, you know, I just don't know what to do, you know, or they drag it out and then they say like, okay, I can't, just walk away, you know? So I think it's awesome that you guys are able to like really work through that stuff. Yeah.
I think if I were to speak on that at all, I think I'm kind of reflecting as we're speaking. I think I might have gone through like those kind of thinking that you guys are right now when I was already married. Because in the engagement period, I was so focused on like wedding planning and like graduating that I was not even thinking about like being a wife that much or what it was gonna be like to be married. I was just excited about it and like trying to plan out, you know, all this stuff. And then that's probably what contributed to the first couple months of marriage being so hard, because I was actually finally like internalizing what was happening and thinking about like what we were starting. And I'm just kind of like thinking about that now.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And like being able to, again, just like stop and sit down with someone else's like fears is like sometimes really hard, and sometimes you just don't want to. You're like, I don't even want to like be present with this moment, you know, like you know, you and maybe have your own perceptions of it, but it's something that you'll continue to have to do like throughout marriage, like and sometimes reoccurring things, you know, reoccurring fears, and being able to just be patient and sit through those things are like the greatest moments of just showing someone else love and being like, hey, like, I know we've talked about this before, but I just want to make sure that you're able to like be comfortable and confident in our relationship right now. So like, what can I do to be there like for you? So that's awesome.
Yeah, and there's like memes that illustrate this really well of like, it's not two people sitting across the table, like it's not me and Lyndsey sitting across the table from each other and trying to figure out what's wrong with me. It's me and her sitting on the same side of the table looking at my issues and being like, what the heck is going on over there? And it's like you're on the same team trying to, and you're battling like this thing that's like this person has that's just affecting you guys. So
that's awesome. Yeah. It helps you guys are on the same side of the table right now.
And now we can take that. Like
wow. You didn't even know.
Didn't even know.
And we can now take how we communicated through all that hardship. We've now have like a blueprint that we can plug in any hardship into that blueprint, and we know we can communicate and get through it together.
Yeah.
We have, and it's like confidence boost.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like even our ability to like talk on this now shows just like kind of what I was talking about before, is that vulnerability. And like, because we were kind of joking when we were coming here, we're like, okay, like what are we going to talk about? Like, what do we think? And Noah's like, this is like, we have to be vulnerable because that's all we can offer. He's like, it's like, we're not like we have any marriage advice or anything. He's like, the most valuable thing we can do is just be vulnerable of like what our process has been, because it's like, hasn't been perfect and it hasn't looked really good. It's probably looked good from the outside. Everyone's like, wow, Noah and Lyndsey, they're just like got it together, but
Crushing it always.
But that's what we have to offer.
And I had a tough conversation with you at the coffee shop that you sat with me through. So is having that community there.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think it's super cool you guys have met with mentors like really consistently too. Were you guys meeting with them when you were just dating?
Yeah,
as
like
well?
about 3 months before engagement, we were like, I was like, because at that point I was like mentally like, okay, it's headed in that direction. I was like, let's not wait to do premarital. So we called it pre-premarital.
Yeah.
And then
we just had like some like topics that we were like, this is how we're dealing with it. We just wanted to know, like, does this make sense to you? So it was so helpful to have them, and it gave us more confidence because again, they were people we asked like, okay, you've seen like the real ins and outs of our relationship. Like,
10 out of 10 recommend.
And so it's cool because we started meeting with them I think last May, and then since like May to now, and we got engaged in October, so it's like they've been with us through like the last couple of months of dating and now engagement, and then he's marrying us.
That's awesome.
She even spoke at my bridal shower this last weekend and was like, that was so cool. So
really worked out.
Yeah. I hope
But,
that like the continued theme is that people get the point that you should do like premarital like counseling, quote unquote, before you're engaged.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
It's just so helpful to be able to start to cover those topics before.
Why wait for all that, like what you said, pressure and stress, like
before, during, after.
It's so hard to think through when you're stressed out and you know have all these new feelings that you weren't anticipating having yet. So
for sure.
And I think too, like one thing that I always tell people is like, because we went to like our premarital, but then he was also going to a counselor, and then I joined him, and I'm like, it's so to me important that we did that, because now like it takes the fear away. Because like the first time I was going, I was like, oh, like I've never been to like a counselor, like I don't know what to expect. And you always hear of like married couples who are like, one wants to go to counseling, one doesn't, because like the one's like maybe too fearful or prideful. And like we've like kind of, I'm sure it will be still hard, but we've kind of erased that fear a little bit, or at least taken it away, because like we were engaged and went to counseling together.
Yeah.
So if like something does come up down the line, it's like, oh, we've done that before. Like, let's go get someone to just like a third party listen. Like obviously like godly wisdom, and be careful with like who you choose. But that I'm like, I was not like a huge like advocate for that, and now I'm like, oh yeah, all in. Just go talk. And like, so that's cool too, because it's like we're less afraid of these conversations. We're less afraid to like let people in.
Yeah.
So it's huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
We're ready.
Well, the last question.
Yes.
Gloria.
I know the answer to this.
Oh, you do?
Wahaha. Yes.
Oh, because the bridal shower?
Yeah. And the night before that too. What are you most excited for about being married in less than a month?
27 days, I think.
Wow.
Whoa, that's
pretty
crazy.
confident. Yeah.
That's
I
wild.
looked at the calendar, like the iPhone calendar, and was like, we are really
Like it's 26.
We only 26?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because your bridal shower is 29.
Okay, Glow says 26, so that's...
I'm not counting down.
we have even less time to get our marriage license. It's fine.
That doesn't take long.
It comes fast.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe we should say it takes long, so that way they get it done sooner.
Sure.
Noah also has to change his
Do it
address
tomorrow.
before that, so it's like a whole process.
It's a process.
Anyway, what are we most excited for?
We are most excited for the classic cliche of living together, doing life together, not being separate and having to drive to each other and logistics. But we've done a lot of research and work to figure out what we want marriage to look like, what we want kids to look like, what we want our lives to look like, and we've learned a lot of processes that these different Christians who have podcasts and YouTube channels kind of preach, and different pastors about, you know, Sabbathing, and like living a rhythmic lifestyle and being very intentional with like having a mission statement for your family. And like, so there's all these things. We've got like 10 of these that we want to implement, but feel like we can't implement because we're not married yet. Like, we're not a unit. We're not in the same spot. And now it's like, okay, yeah, we are going to be one, and we get to try and implement these strategies and tinker with them and figure out what works with us. Yeah. So, most excited to kind of sink our teeth into that process and just enjoy each other.
That's awesome. Is that both of your answers? Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, same thing. It's like the cliche of like not having to say goodbye, but it's like so true.
It's really
it just gets so old that
you
you're
save
like,
so much gas too.
Oh my god! It's like, and I'm gonna get like, it's just like, okay, let me drop you off to pick you up in 8 hours. Like it's just you know, so definitely over that. And then it's cool when you have the same vision. Yeah. You know, it's not just like we're getting married. Like, we have such a good time together. Like, we were just like cracking up on our way here. So it's like, you know, we love life and hanging out and doing stuff, but it's also cool when you like have the same vision and it's like distinct. We're not just kind of like walking in blindly. Obviously, we don't know where it's going to take us, but we kind of have like the barriers we want to put in place. So I don't know if barriers is the right word. That sounds negative, but
it does sound negative.
I know. I'm excited.
Boundaries.
More just like guidelines of like, this is like
electric fences.
Much better.
Dog collars.
But
thorn bushes.
So that's my answer too. Is just so excited to kind of see where God takes that.
That's so awesome. It really is cool. Like, it's like discovering yourself again, you know, almost in some way, because you're discovering each other as one, you know, and it's a really cool process. I think it's always a continued process, especially as you just continue to hit different stages of life. You know, you're gonna like, this is just like step one. You know, maybe it's more than step one, but it's a step.
One and a half.
Sure.
And like many more. So, that's so awesome. All right, well, I think we're in the deep end of the pool. Lyndsey, welcome to the deep end of the pool.
Thank you. Oh, I just hit it. I'm so excited. Noah is lost. He doesn't even know what it is.
Noah,
have you been?
Yeah, he's not even a real listener, dude.
Did you bring your floaties?
I've been.
Yeah,
Did you?
Is that a
I've been in the deep end of the pool before, I swear.
Yeah? Oh, if the podcast you've been in the deep end? Oh, okay.
Well, that doesn't count. But can we do a taste test?
Yeah, here's the taste test. All right, well, we have to explain for everybody who's listening right now.
Well, can I show you just one thing that I've been kind of working on this week that I think is really cool?
Yeah, you can show me, but you also have to be able to tell me.
Scratching your nose?
No, you ready?
He's been working.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah, that's it.
That was pretty good.
Kind of scared me.
I know. Gloria's actually
my heart was like...
Gloria's actually shook.
Like, that's his go-to thing this week. Yeah. And like the last 2 weeks, he'll just like randomly bring that out. Yeah. I can't believe he did it right now.
Can I show you this other thing I've been working on?
For anybody who's listening, he just basically made a scary face.
He's been working on it. Anyway, the deep end of the pool is where we consider and talk about random topics.
Yeah, pretty much anything.
Random opinions, hot takes.
Yeah,
sometimes hot takes, yes.
So first off, what's everybody's favorite flavor or package of Skittles? Because that's really what we're about to dive into right now. We're about to dive into these
I'm an
Skittles.
OG man myself.
I'm an OG. No, I'm actually like the sour ones.
I love the sour ones. But you can only eat like 5 and then your tongue's going to
and then your tongue's like burning. Yeah. But the sour ones for me.
So can I open?
Yeah.
Well, I open them. Okay. And I was like, smoothie ones. I'm pretty sure I've had smoothie Skittles before, and they're really good. So
I don't want to make noise.
I will stop there, and you can just tell me your thoughts.
My hands are.
Gloria has this thing where like she'll get like very like a variety flavor of something, and then she'll be like, I don't like this.
Should I do one?
What? However many.
If you're discerning whether you should take 2, you probably. Oh my god.
She just stuck like 10 in her mouth.
A whole handful in her mouth. Wow, you guys are like
let us
all
know
in right now.
The aftertaste, because that's what I was struggling with.
These taste like those candies that you get that you twist a quarter in, the banana candies.
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't tasted it, so I don't actually know.
It's just straight bubble gum.
It tastes like bubble gum? Like the double bubble, or like the
the
ones
one
that
that's
are
in a
the
roll
case?
that I always wanted.
Hubba
What are those?
Bubba.
No, those
No.
aren't Hubba Bubba, are they?
Oh, the one with the
Like
goose
the-
on it.
The circle,
No, the
like the
circular
foot.
roll one.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know what it looks
I thought
like.
that was Hubba Bubba.
So okay, well, what would
Maybe.
you rate it in comparison to your favorite Skittles? Does it come close or
Favorite
not?
Skittles
even
being a
close?
10.
Favorite Skittles being a 10. Worst flavor of licorice being a 1.
Oh, some people like licorice.
7.5.
Whoa, that's pretty high up.
Yeah,
not that
I think they're good.
Out of 10,
Yeah,
compared to my favorite Skittle.
yeah.
It's kind of hard.
How do you do one?
after that.
How do you do 1 out of 10 compared to your
The lowest being your least favorite flavor of licorice.
The 10 being your favorite
Yeah.
My
Skittles.
favorite Skittle. Was probably like a 5 or a 6.
5 or 6. Yeah. All
See,
right. Well,
when
you
I-
heard it here.
When I ate
Don't
them,
get these Skittles.
well, the first flavor was good, but then the aftertaste was like
Yeah. No.
fishy.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
fishy flavor?
Oh.
You know, so Gloria today, here's another thing, all right? Again, this is the common theme. Gloria will buy things that she's never had before and then hate them almost every time. Like 90% of the time she hates them. So she bought this coffee thing. Go ahead, tell the story.
Oh, okay. I'll be really quick.
You don't have to be, you can just,
Oh, okay. Well, I went to Whole Foods because I've been getting this like prebiotic soda that's supposed to be good for your stomach and gut health and stuff. And I try like once a week to get one.
it's because she's a granola lady.
Not really. I just have a bad gut.
Crunchy.
No. So I went to Whole Foods and I was gonna get some prebiotic soda, but then I was like, I haven't had coffee today. I would like some coffee. So then I saw this like pretty can. It was light pink. It's called like Pop and Bottle
The
or
branding
something.
gotcha.
Yeah.
It did, and it said like oat milk vanilla cold brew, and I was like, that sounds pretty good. And it said and collagen, and I was like, I've been listening to these podcasters. They say collagen's really good for you. Like,
Is it true, Lindsay? Do you
Yeah,
know?
it is good for you.
Yeah, okay.
so I was like,
Confirmed.
perfect. Need to get me some collagen, and so I bring it to work and I take one sip. and
She
I was
cracks it open.
like, this is disgusting. This is probably one of
Say
the
the
worst drinks I've
flavor
ever
again?
had. Well, it was vanilla cold brew. It had oat milk.
And it was a soda?
with collagen. No, it was a coffee. This was a coffee.
Okay. I was like,
No, this
ugh.
was different realm.
Okay.
Different realm. But then I was like, why is this so gross? And I turn it around and it says contains fish.
Well, I
And
feel
it
like
turns out it had marine collagen, which is different than other
They put
collagen.
fish eggs in your coffee.
Yeah.
It was so gross. And I
They
was like, I
tricked
just
ya.
have fish
That's
coffee. So I
disgusting.
think that's why that tastes fishy.
No, I agree. I don't
know.
like the. I wouldn't. I would not eat the full pack if I was in a 10-hour car ride.
Wow.
Which I feel like you could eat a lot of candies.
could eat a lot of
in a
Skittles.
10-hour
You
car
could.
ride.
Yeah. That's actually a
I
really
would
good way of
definitely
measuring that.
It
eat
is.
them.
Just like if I was like in a car and because you know some you're just like I need something to snack on because I'm
Something.
bored. I'm
Yeah.
not hungry. I
Not
don't
the
need
smoothie
sweets.
Skittles.
Yeah.
I'd see those smoothie Skittles and be like, or I'd take a handful and turn to the driver and be like, I don't know why I'm still eating these things. They're nasty.
Totally. Yeah. Well, is there any way that we can be praying for your relationship specifically?
Yeah. I mean, if you guys had,
Aw.
if you guys had, you guys experienced the first few months of marriage, and you
Yeah.
said it was rough for you. So just like whatever you needed prayer for in those months, like lay it on us, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say probably communication, clarity of mind, vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Because
Yeah.
I was going through stuff in my head and not out loud. So definitely
Yeah,
that.
definitely
Yeah.
all of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need it,
Yeah.
and God will give it.
Definitely. Ask and you will receive it.
Mhm.
So, Glo, you want to pray for them?
Sure.
Cool.
Oh,
Let's
you
pray.
do it right on the show.
Let's do it right now.
Sometimes
Sweet.
when I get caught off guard. All right. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all here today and protecting our cars on the way here to record. Thank you for bringing Noah and Lyndsey and for them being so honest with us and to all the listeners and giving good advice. I pray that it reaches ears that can take it and hold on to it and remember it for their own future or present relationships. And I also pray for the future marriage of Noah and Lyndsey because it's so soon, which is super exciting. And so I pray right now for all the things that we've been talking about, that you would just grant them peace and clarity with each other, help them to continue in their vulnerability with each other that will just strengthen them so much. And I pray for an abundant community around them, that will continue to support them and lift them up in prayer, as well as husband and wife. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Catch you guys in the next one.